So today we take a brief algebra side trip and we'll create ourselves a tool that will be of help to us tomorrow. Tomorrow you will encounter some problems that look like this. Does anybody remember how we used to take these on? Make it equal 0. So that we can factor. Plus 3 plus 2. As long as this is a plus, these have to be not necessarily. If that's a plus, they'll have to be the same as the first sign, which is pluses in this case. But if this were a minus, these would be minuses. 2 and 3. So what are the answers to that? Negative 2, negative 3. This one I made a smidge easier. Why is that one a smidge easier in the way I wrote it on the board? Already equals 0, so we're ready to factor. Square. Answer for that? Just negative 2. Got the same factor twice, so you don't need to do the answer twice. This one factors a little differently than that. Okay, of
X.
leaving you,
X plus 5.
getting you answers.
0 and negative 5.
Agreed. Uh-oh. Why did I say uh-oh?
You can't factor.
Can't factor. So this is the tool we're trying to get back going in our toolbox again. I think you eavesdropped in or were part of a conversation about this the other day. Quadratic formula, which we sort of remembered some of the letters that day.
B.
There is a B in it.
Squared. Plus or minus.
Little louder.
Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2ac.
But you guys are back here mumbling as we stutter.
Not quite on the bottom.
Oh, 2A.
Good job, Abby.
Thank you.
That's a good thing to still have rattling around your brain. It'll appear in classes, it'll appear on the SAT maybe, it's around. So how did you know who was who if we tried to run that for this problem?
No, okay, the first one. I don't know.
Like what's A, B, and C? How do you?
X is B.
The first one's a, the first term's a, second term's
So
b.
A in this case is
X squared.
just a 3.
1.
A 1. The B
Oh,
is a 2. The C is a 5. So if we put those numbers in here, we'd be looking at
Negative 2 plus or minus root 4 minus 4. No, wait, okay. 20 over 2.
it's a good start.
Can you cancel 2 or get rid of the 2s?
You could clean up something.
And
4 minus 20.
4 minus 20 makes
Negative 16.
negative 16. Square rooting a negative for the purposes of trig and most math you've ever done, you've always been sort of told you can't do it. And I agree with that in here. This would be a we can't do it kind of problem.
So
For the purposes of algebra 2,
4.
square root of 16 is 4, and when we square rooted negatives, we did i's for a chapter. And then this could clean up a touch.
1 plus minus 2i.
Correct. I referred to this in my own way, not a like nationally known term. I should copyright it. Triple play reducing. You can only like try to cancel the 2's if you're going to also attack the 4. You can't do stuff with 4 and 2 unless you can also go after the 2. You have to get everything if you're going to reduce that. We'll do one more of those and then we'll get into the actual project at hand for the day. If we went to go do that one, how would the formula set up?
-5 plus minus 25 minus 2. Good job. Thanks. That helped.
Small cleanup?
25 minus 12 is 13.
So in Algebra 2, we went with that. If it were a trig, more decimal world, if we'd sort of punch that in on a calculator to live a little bit more in decimal world, you're probably willing to take my word for it that that would turn you out a negative 0.697 as well as a negative 4.303. How would punching this in turn you out 2 answers? Why is there 2 answers? Plus and minus. So you would do -5, add the root, and then divide by 2. You would do -5, subtract the root, and then divide by 2. This was called the quadratic formula. Tomorrow, what will crop up for us are equations like this, but they're going to have things in them like sine 58s and like tricky numbers as well. Like the sine of 58 is just a number. Your calculator knows what that number is. Like it's the same thing. But I doubt if you'd be real excited about doing this process and having one of these numbers be a decimal number that filled your whole calculator screen. Probably not what you want to do. So we're going to create your very first ever program in a little bit that will do this for you. So I'll clear a little bit of space to stay in the better viewing range. So instead of doing this by hand, you'll now just do this by program. The danger in that is you may once again completely forget the formula that we just did and have it appear on an SAT or something, and then it's gone, but nevertheless. So here's the first question to contemplate. We'll write a whole series of programs this year, and there's a similarity to all of them. You have a lot of opportunities to interact with machines. Some of you have like ATM cards. Some of you have pumped gas. Some of you have done other things with other machines at a kiosk or something somewhere that does something for you. So in the machine-person communication, contemplate for a minute who communicates with who first. Machine to you or you to machine?
Plus machine.
Machine to us.
So we have a difference of opinions
I don't know,
already.
you just didn't answer right away.
It's a 50-50 shot. Yeah, it's a 50-50.
Us the machine.
So think about a particular. Let's think about a particular interaction you have had with machines. Let's pick a category of machine you've actually interacted with.
Machine to us. I'm changing my answer, sorry.
Don't change my answer.
I'm sorry. No, I thought about it.
How many of you have ATM cards? You used an ATM? One person. People that have pumped gas. 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. Okay, so let's go with that one. So you walk up to the gas pump and there's going to be a degree of communication being made. What's like one communicate, not necessarily the first communication, but what's one of the communications between you and the gas pump?
Paying for the gas, like the
It tells you to insert your card.
Okay, so you're told to insert your card, so then
You do it.
you do it.
Then it says insert pin.
Yeah, ask for your pin, and then
I pumped gas last night.
after it asks you to do that,
You
then
insert your pin.
you do it.
It says select a grade.
Yeah, and then
Select a grade.
push 87. So in all the interactions that she just named, who talked to who first?
The machine.
Machine.
That's
So
why I changed my
the
guess.
very first thing when you look at the gas machine, it'll say either like go inside to pay, or it'll say put your card in, or it'll say something to get this thing started, which is usually payment. And then it'll ask you like pick what kind of gas you want or whatever. It bosses you around. If you go up to the ATM and you look at the screen already is displaying the message, put your card in. So then you do. and then the machine says, what is your
Pin.
pin? Punch it in, then it comes up another screen. Do you want to deposit? Do you want to withdraw? Do you want to, what are you doing?
We want to withdraw.
You push the buttons. Anything that happens, the machine's always going to talk to you first. So just write this down for now, and I'll show you where these buttons even live later. There's a button in your calculator called a display command that you're going to use anytime the machine is trying to talk to you. So essentially later, instead of having a gas pumping machine, you're going to have a quadratic formula doing machine. If the machine were going to do the quadratic formula for you, the machine knows the equation, it knows what it's doing, it's going to just do the math for you, what would it have to ask you for first to do your work for you?
Your A.
The A. So you'd want to have a command appear on the screen like enter A. Then there's a command called an input where you as the person would type the 1. You'd hit enter and the machine sucks that in and will give that the name A. Then what would happen?
Enter B.
Display command to say enter B. At which point,
Input. B.
B. Then
Display.
display,
Enter.
enter C, input, C. That's how almost all the programs will write. Eventually you'll write. There'll be some that for homework I'll just have you write in programs. But they're going to almost all start off with a series of display, input, display, input, display, input, where the calculator asks you for an item and you put it in. Asks you for an item and you put it in. Like on the other day's homework, there were some with it, we had triangles with 3 sides. So the calculator could say, give me a side, boom, give me another side, boom, give me another side, boom. Then math will happen and it'll give you some answers back. Once the calculator knows all these, then what's it time to do?
The formula.
The formula. So I'm going to go like this to make sure you do the negative symbol on the calculator, not the minus for subtraction, but negative b plus root b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. The calculator will force that on you. Where else do we need some punctuation? After the C, close that off. We'll also need another thing to make that be what truly happens. That's not what this right now would actually do.
Parentheses over the whole top.
Agreed. Anytime you see something written like this, we know, or could know, or might know, and might remember once I say it, the whole top has parentheses around it invisibly. We know that when we see it because it looks like it should be. This, as presently written, only the rooty part would be on top of the 2a, and this negative b would just be floating around. So we want to go parentheses around the whole top to just help us out. So the calculator does that. And then I'm going to need to fill, there's going to be something appear here, so sorry, we need a space back there. Okay, so the calculator knows an answer. What would you expect it to do? Give you the answer. How's it going to talk to you?
Display.
Display. A title or something might be nice, like answer is. And then we can use the answer button that we've usually used, at which point we are not done, even though it might feel like we're done. Why are we not done?
We still have to do the subtraction one.
Yeah, we still have to do the subtraction one. So we'll go back and go negative b minus root b squared minus 4ac. Done. You'll wish when you type that in that the calculator had a copy and paste feature like a computer does, and it does not, sorry. So you're just gonna have to punch it all in again, there's no like copy paste. And after we have that answer, we want to display it. I don't necessarily need a heading on this one, I already told the person these are the answers, so we can hit those out. This would work most of the time. Sometimes this would give you math errors. Why would this sometimes give you math errors? And I need to do a little bit of sorting out back here where I said I would need a line. 2 lines actually. Why would doing this math sometimes make your machine blow up at you?
If A is 0.
That is true, but we would bypass that because if the a were 0, the equation wouldn't even have an x squared. We wouldn't have been thinking in those terms. But something like that, yes. There's something else that can blow us up. It blew us up over there in one of the problems.
Negative roots.
Yeah, what makes the problems impossible?
Negative root.
Negative roots. Okay, so there's a thing in there that's an if command. So if we have some bad news, we're going to sort that out. What makes the root be negative? If what?
The b squared is bigger than the 4ac.
Warm. We have a problem if b squared
Is smaller than
is
4AC.
smaller than 4ac.
Yeah.
If b squared is smaller than 4ac, we have an issue. And we don't want to try to do the math because it will anger our calculator. So there's a command called a goto that can send things out of order. And I can just pick a number, any number. I'll just pick the number 1. And I'll create a space a little bit down here farther where there's a label command. And I'll put a 1 there.
That's under go to.
It's gonna be like, this is kind of going in order. This is not like the end of the print.
Okay.
So this stuff's like in the middle. So it's like group 1 of lines, group 2 of lines. This is like the final group of lines. So here's what the calculator's doing. It's asking us for A, B, and C. Before it tries to do the formula, which might blow up, it's gonna do a check. If the b squared is less than 4ac, it's not going to do the math. It's going to go out of order past all this stuff and only do whatever we tell it to do over here. So if the root was negative, what's the deal with that? What happens if we're trying to root a negative for Trigonometry?
You can't get a root or an answer out of the root.
Yeah, so what should we have the thing tell us? There's
No answer.
no answer. So how's it talk to us?
Error.
The command that talks to us?
Display.
Display.
No.
And the message we're thinking it should give us is,
E.
Error.
there is, what did you say?
No answer.
No answer.
Oh, don't just say no answer.
We'll make it say it has no answer.
Oh, okay.
Everything we put in quotes is a sentence we're making the machine say when the time is right. We'll need to code this in once today. And then from now on, you'll have a machine that'll say, like, enter A. I'll simulate the machine for you. So here's our problem. We'll need to code in all these lines today, and then we'll have this forever. But the program, when it runs, will say, enter A, I'd say 1. It'll say enter B, I'd say 5. It'll say enter C, I'll say 6, and in a like millisecond, it'll say the answers are -2 and -3. So we would do this one, and it would say enter A, I'd say 1, it would say enter B, I'd say 2, it would say enter C, I'd say 5, and as fast as you could blink your eye, it'll say there's no answer. I mean, it'll just churn these problems out like instantly. So what is ABC? 153. It would clock you these two decimals like so fast you don't even know what happened. You understand the thing? So this happens once and then it's runnable forever. Again, just logically speaking, what's going on here is we're given an ABC. We should check our numbers before we try to math them. What's the only way that we would even have the calculator reading this line of code? If what were true.
There's an input.
If what?
There's an input.
Yeah, like we give it the three numbers, we run the check. What's the only way we even arrive at this line? Because we're either,
Check
You
clears.
couldn't.
the check clears. Because either, when we do the check, if the check works out, we're here. But if the b squared is less, we go,
No answer.
no answer. It's sort of, at this point, there's like a branching happens. Like if the thing is fine, keep going in order. But if the b squared is less, go over there. We need one command here as well because if it comes through and it passes the check and it does all the math and gives us the answers, unless we tell it to stop, I think stop is the right thing. I always forget what this is supposed to be. It's stop or it's quit or it's end. I don't remember which command it is. I forget because those are all like synonym words and some of them are commands and some of them aren't. So I forget which command it is. But when we get to here, unless we tell it to stop, it will keep reading and keep doing what we told it to do. So you get this weird thing where it says the answer is 2 and 3 and there's no answer. And you're like, well, what? So if you're saying the answer is 2 and the answer is 3, at this point you want it to stop because you only want it to go over there if it failed that check. So if it failed the check, we go there. But if we pass the check, at this point we want to stop and act like that never existed. Follow it? Question, any of that?
Does the minus in between the b squared and the minus before c not matter?
This is a true minus.
I mean for like the
And
if b
that's a
squared
true
is
minus.
less than 4ac.
What about it?
Do we not need the minus there?
No,
Or is it like
subtraction is a problem. If the first number is littler than the second, that's our problem. So that's what this is doing. If the first number is less than the second, then problem. Question about any of that? Let's look for our buttons and start to type stuff in. Let me grab my calculator so I can type along with you instead of me trying to remember where this all is. So the first thing you'd want to hit to get this program thing going is hit the program button. So the program button is right above cosine. When you hit the program button, you have three choices, all of which you're going to need to do at one time or another. When it's all done and it's time to let your machine do some work for you, you're going to want to choose to execute. We can't do that yet. We have nothing to execute, but that's what that first tab is about, is executing your program. If you go over to edit, you will later need to edit this because we're probably not going to do it all in one sitting. So later when you're finishing punching in what I get you started on, you're going to need to edit it. What we're doing right now is creating something new. So go over to new, choose create new. And there's a thing called a cursor that's right now blinking at you with a little A. Anybody not have the blinky A? Anybody lack that? Okay, so the blinky A is meaning it's now in alphabet mode and it's going to receive letters from you. The letters are in green. So you see the green letters A, B, C, D, E, F. So we're giving this a name. We're limited to 8 letters and the word quadratic is unfortunately 9. So I would suggest you leave the I out of it because phonetically that still reads like quadratic. That I think is what our optimal name is. So just type in Q, U, A, D, etc. and so forth. And when you get your 8 letters in there, hit enter. And a little colon pops up on your screen. Every time you hit enter, there's going to be this little colon that appears on your screen that you don't have to write in your notes 57 times. But the colon is just a signal it's time for you to type a line in. So then we're gonna go to find the display command. You're gonna hit program again. And we'll give you a little tour of where all these commands are. So when you first hit program now, there's a list that says CTL.
Okay.
Okay, so the CTL list, later, that's where the if is. When we go to get the if later, that's where that lives. Number 7, end. That might be the thing we need here, I'm not sure. If you scroll down, there's a pause. Scroll down some more, there's a label. So later when we need this label button, that's in there. Go down a little more, the go-to. The go-to is in that list. If we go down a bit farther, there's a stop. So was it quit we just saw?
It was end.
And so if and isn't it, then stop might be it. I don't know. I don't understand what the difference is between the end command and the stop command. Like, I don't know. But there's a bunch of stuff, none of which is what we need right now, but that's where some of the words will be. Okay. Go over a list, use the over arrow. If we go over a list, we can see there's our input and there's our display. Display is number 3. Quickest way to navigate these menus, if you want number 3, just hit the number 3. You can go down, 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 down and hit enter. But if it's like choice 7, just hit the 7 and it's quicker to hit the 7 than go down 7 times. And then we're back where we were with like the colons and stuff. For us to type this stuff, the choice becomes whether you want one letter or whether you want a bunch of letters. If you're going to do one letter, you would just hit the alphabet button and then that letter. But I'm about to want to type like 10 letters in a row, so there's a better way to do that. There's a thing that's called the alphabet lock. So if you do yellow then green, the yellow then green is going to give you the alphabet lock. And now you have your blinky A back. It's ready to just type letters forever as long as you type. So the quote is with the plus button. And then we can go E, N, T, E, R. The space is with the 0. I think that's called an underscore, a punctuation mark for that. So we'll do the space, do an A, do the quote again. And since that line is complete, we will hit enter.
How'd you find that? Oh, dang it.
Is it also like you have only 8 spaces for
No,
that one?
the
Okay.
quote lines can go as long as you want now.
Okay.
Yeah, it was only the name that was limited. So now how can we get back to the input command? Program,
IO.
over to IO. IO, it's off to work we go. Small 7 dwarfs reference. And then it's number 1. If we're gonna just do a single letter, I would just go green button then A. And after we get the A typed in, we're gonna hit enter. And now we're doing another colon line. Do you have the flow of where the stuff is?
Wait, kind of.
I messed up and need back to input.
Okay, if you mess up, clear is gonna probably get rid of stuff that was mess ups.
Yeah, I have.
Delete can get rid of a single like character of mess up.
Okay.
Let's do an important thing. To save this and get out, you're gonna probably wanna write this down. To save it and get out, you're gonna do the yellow button and then quit, which is right next to the yellow button. So yellow button and quit gets you back to your main screen. So go ahead and do that just to seal that in so far. So yellow button, quit. Now you're back to your screen you're used to using,
Exciting.
where you do like 8 times 7 and like, you're back to the screen where you do basic math. How can we get back into what we started typing?
Program.
Program.
Oh. Okay,
Edit.
that's one.
Edit this time, because we're no longer creating a new thing. It's already started, so we're going back in to edit it. I have quite a list of stuff, but I'll pick the one that was there. I'm back in, and now I'll just continue typing. The other thing, you don't know where it is, is the less than button. So the less than button, do yellow and test. If you hit yellow and test, test is 2 buttons below there's yellow, then green, then math/test.
Yeah.
Second and test will give you all that greater than less than stuff. You might want to jot that down because that might take a minute before you get to there, but the less than is in second and test. We don't want that right now, so what do you think we could do to get out of that little world?
Clear.
Clear. Clear will get us back to where we were. The only way to get out of this program coding mode is second and quit. If you don't hit second and quit, you're like in this literally forever. You could hit clear 5,000 times and it's still just going to sit here staring at you in this program coding mode. Second and quit is the only thing that can let you out, short of like pulling the batteries or something out of it. So second quit is like pretty important when you're all done, or if you're either done or you're just done for now. Second quit lets you out of it. So your homework is 2 minor projects. Project 1 is finish coding all this in. And then when you're done and you second quit it, do program and do execute. And try out these 5 problems. Like do the 1, 5, 6 pair. Make sure you get those answers. Do the 1, 4, 4 pair. In a quirk, it'll give you the same answer twice. It'll give you -2 twice. I don't feel like trying to fix that. If you're annoyed by the fact you get -2 twice, there's a way using ifs and stuff you can fix that, but it really doesn't matter to me. Try this pair. This would be 1, 5, 0. You would do 0 for C on this one. Make sure you get these answers. Do the 1, 2, 5 group. Make sure it goes no answer. Do the 1, 5, 3. Make sure you get those decimal numbers. If it works for those, it's going to work for everything under the sun then. Let's say one other thing. Okay. If you ever get an error, every time you get an error, you'll always get the same 2 choices with your machine, to either quit or go to. Always pick go to. Because if you pick go to, it will go to where the mistake is, and it'll start blinking at you. And you'll realize, like, it's that line that I have a mistake, and then you can check what you typed versus what your notes did. Every once in a long while, the calculator will get buggy and may give you an error that you, I, and no one in the world understands. And usually the way to fix that is clear the whole line and retype it. And that'll just sometimes fix mystery problems. So if you're sitting there thinking, this is exactly what I typed, and I don't understand why it's giving me an error on this line, just clear the line and retype it. Also, similar to a computer, the insert button lets you insert things. So if you were short a letter in the middle of your word, put the cursor to where you want your letter, do the insert button, and then that'll let you insert letters. If you had to insert a full line, you go to where you want the line to be, hit the insert button, and hit enter. It'll scoot everything down a line to free you up a line. If you ever forgot a line, that's how you can squeeze in a whole line.
What do we do to like put in the equation? So
Just as it is. So a negative button, an alphabet B.
we don't have to do any program.
No, a plus, a root button, an alphabet B that's squared, minus. You just type it in with the letters exactly as it appears. Cut that.